There's this strange assumption that if you actually enjoy staying home, something must be wrong with you. Like you're missing out, or you're scared, or you just haven't found the right people yet. But here's the thing. Most people who love staying home aren't afraid of the world. They're just not performing for it. Society has this deep discomfort with people who don't need to be seen. We've built an entire culture around the idea that your life only counts if it's visible, if you're out there, if you're busy. And when someone opts out of that, it makes people uneasy. Because if you're fine alone, it raises a question they don't want to answer. Why aren't they? The truth is, people who genuinely love staying home tend to share a few things. They're comfortable with stillness. They don't need constant stimulation to feel alive. They've spent enough time with themselves to know they're not that bad to be around, and that's rare. Most people will do anything to avoid being alone with their thoughts. Scroll, call someone, make plans they don't even want. Staying home isn't the escape. Going out often is. There's also this. People who love staying home are less impressed by social theater. They're not motivated by being seen at the right place or having the right story to tell later. They're not collecting experiences to prove something. They just know what actually makes them feel good, and they're not apologizing for it. They've stopped confusing activity with fulfillment. And they notice things. When you're not caught up in the momentum of always being somewhere, you start seeing how much of social life is just noise. The forced enthusiasm, the recycled conversations, the subtle performance everyone's putting on to seem more interesting than they feel. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And suddenly staying home isn't about missing out. It's about opting out of something that never felt real to begin with. People who love staying home also tend to have a different relationship with their own mind. They're not afraid of what happens when things get quiet. Their thoughts don't scare them. They can sit with themselves without needing a distraction every 5 minutes. That's not something everyone can do. For a lot of people, silence is uncomfortable because it forces them to face things they've been avoiding. Doubts, regrets, questions they don't have answers to. Home lovers have made peace with that. They've learned that being alone with yourself isn't something to run from. There's also an element of control that matters more than people admit. When you're out, you're always reacting. Someone else sets the volume, the pace, the mood. You're fitting into someone else's environment. At home, you decide everything. When to engage, when to stop, when to think. That's not laziness, that's autonomy. And once you've tasted that kind of freedom, it's hard to give it up for shallow interactions that leave you feeling drained. But let's be honest, there's a difference between enjoying solitude and hiding from life. If you're staying home because you're paralyzed by anxiety, or because you've convinced yourself you hate people when really you're just scared of rejection, that's not peace. That's avoidance. And you can feel the difference. Real solitude is restorative. It doesn't leave you feeling stuck or ashamed. It leaves you feeling like yourself. The people who thrive at home aren't running from anything. They're just not buying into the idea that a full life has to be a loud one. They're not less ambitious or less connected. They're just selective. They've realized that most socializing is low-grade stress dressed up as fun, and they'd rather save their energy for things that actually matter. They'd rather have one real conversation than 10 surface-level ones. They'd rather spend time on something meaningful than waste it on something forgettable. And maybe that's what bothers people. Because when you're fine at home, you're not playing the game. You're not feeding the system that says you need to be out there, spending money, being seen, proving you're alive. You're just living quietly. And that makes people wonder if they could do the same. So if you love staying home, you don't need to justify it. You're not broken or boring. You're just someone who's figured out that you don't need the world's permission to enjoy your own company. And honestly, that's a kind of freedom most people are still too afraid to try.